So this is a story that I like to share. I know a few of you in the audience, and this is a personal story about how I grew up. As I called my brother and my dad and told them I was going to be doing this presentation, I said, what would you say about how we grew up? And my brother and I, we cracked up about some other really hilarious things. So the name of the cult that we grew up in was called the Emissaries of Divine Light. And every organization, every spiritual religious organization thinks they are the best. And what I think is so funny about this name is that these were the people, like, we thought we were bringing the light from whatever the sources. So when you think of a spiritual or New Age religion, you think of energy work, hippies in the forest wearing tie-dye, sage burning, crystals. We had all of that in our house all the time for years. There were people breaking out into ecstatic dance. And my brother and I were actually quite embarrassed because we grew up in Dallas, Texas, which is what you call the Bible Belt. So everybody is Christian. Some of my friends were Jewish, and people were like, what are all those people doing at your house on Sundays? We would actually arrange the sofas just like the chairs are in here, and we had a podium. I knew no other family in Dallas, Texas that owned a podium as a piece of their furniture. So what I think is really funny is their message is restore wholeness to human experience. And they talk about the creative laws and principles. And I asked my brother, I said, what does that even mean? And he said, I don't know. And I said, what do they stand for? And he says, I don't know. So, what's funny is we never talked about God and Jesus, but these were kind of the words that we used. Reminds you of Star Wars, huh? This was the 80s when I grew up. So my experience of growing up in a New Age cult was more experiential as opposed to being indoctrinated with a belief system. So we grew our own vegetables. We lived communally. We had church in our living rooms on Sundays. Everyone came over. And there were some polyamorous relationships. And one of the funny stories that we have is a man who had an affair with a woman was called him encompassing her, but there was no word for a woman to encompass a man. So my brother and I were still cracking up about that. So if you hear the word encompass, that's what immediately comes to mind. There was a lot of, things like sweat lodges and coming of age ceremonies and drum circles, and a lot of soul gazing. And this is what's funny. Like in any New religious organization, you become brainwashed. And I thought that everybody wanted intense, personal, human connection. And so I'm at the grocery store line and I'm looking at somebody. I'm like, I see you. And they're like, stop right now. Stop. I don't want to be seen. So I had to stop soul raping people. So this is me when I moved to California from Texas. I realized that I had a finely tuned spiritual bullshit detector because I moved to LA and everybody's trying to prove how spiritual they are. Everybody's like, well, what's your meditation practice like? Have you read this book? Are you going to see the speaker? Are you going to the Agape Church? And I found everything about California and LA to be people trying really, really hard to be spiritual. And the thing about, in my mind, being spiritual is it's nobody's fucking business, what your relationship is with yourself and some other God, source, whatever you want to call it. And I learned how to get tough, too, because I think that in the way that I grew up, people tended to deny their human emotion, their anger, their sadness. And this guy's great, J.P. Sears. He speaks to my heart because he makes fun of people trying to be ultra spiritual. If you don't know him, you've got to watch some of his videos. So I actually now have trigger words when I would meet these ultra spiritual people that would try and prove to me how spiritual they were. Like, I'm at a music festival, and this woman says, I don't eat fat anymore because, the law of attraction, fat attracts fat. I'm like, honey, I don't think that's how it works. Not the law of attraction or gaining weight. I think that the power of positive thinking is one of the most misused things because I think that people, it's a form of self-delusion and they don't want to actually take a look at themselves. But my number one sort of problem I have with the New Age movement is this idea of manifestation, the idea that thoughts become things. it only works if you're rich and wealthy. It does not work if you are in sub-Saharan Africa and you have no water. So the secret was a well-executed plan. So these are my anti-spiritual principles, is worry about yourself. Get yourself in order. Get your body in order, because this is the temple here, and it affects the way that we see everything, the chemicals that are running through your health, what you put into your body, and the most important thing is to be authentically you. Don't deny your human experience. Be sad, be happy, all of it. My dad used to always say, what's right with you is the starting point, what's wrong with you is beside the point. Namaste, bitches.